Coming our way next, we have our popular segment called Who's Who. To navigate this segment here is our own popular personality of the DC Metro region, Mr. Sonny Siegel. He is the one and only CIO of Montgomery County, Maryland. His guest today is Miss Jolene Ivey, a Maryland delegate. Let's tune in to their dialogue.
Welcome to Who's Who. This is your host, Sonny Siegel. Today, my guest is Miss Jolene Ivey. Miss Jolene Ivey is a delegate from Prince George's County, Maryland. Jolene was sworn in to the Maryland House of Delegates in 2007. She serves on the prestigious Ways and Means Committee, is House Chair of the Joint Committee on Children, Youth, and Families, and is a member of the Joint Committee on Administrative, Executive, and Legislative Review. She's also the chair of the Prince George's County House Delegation. Jolene Ivey has a record of fighting for those less fortunate and outside the political system. Her work with at-risk youth, children, families, and immigrants has been widely recognized. Attorney General Doug Gansler, who is running for governor of Maryland in the 2014 elections, has selected Miss Ivey to join his ticket as candidate for lieutenant governor. Welcome, Jolene.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Sonny.
Welcome. Yes, you know, I am fortunate to have you on the show so close to your run for lieutenant governor of Maryland. It's my honor.
It's an exciting time. Thanks so much.
Can you please tell our viewers a little bit about your background?
Sure. Well, before I was a delegate, I was home with my children. I have 5 beautiful boys, and my husband's Glenn Ivey. He used to be the state's attorney of Prince George's County.
I see, yes.
And we have 5 beautiful boys. I was home with them for 16 years. Wow. That's a long time.
Yes.
And while I was home with them, I started an organization along with a couple of friends called Mocha Moms. It's a support group for at-home mothers of color. And Mocha Moms does lots of community service. We have more than 100 chapters now around the country, and it started as an organization of a small group of women in my church basement, so I'm very proud of it.
Oh, very nice.
In addition, I was very involved with the schools. When your children are in the schools, you really have to be an involved parent. And I was a big volunteer, always down in my kids' classrooms and advocating for things that I thought that the schools should do. Mm-hmm. So through that, I eventually just got to the point where I was ready for the next phase of my life and decided to run for delegate. It was a big change in our family, because my husband was also an elected official, and as I said, we have a lot of children, so he really had to adjust to go from being the person who was completely engaged in work to being someone who had to be more engaged with the family, because I had a lot to do outside of the family. So we're a great team, and the boys are doing well. And so that's basically how I came to run, though. Before I was home with our children, I was press secretary for then Congressman Ben Cardin. He's a senator now, but I was his press
Senator
secretary.
Ben Cardin, yes.
When he was a congressman. And before that, I was a television producer for a station in Baltimore, WMAR.
Oh, very nice. And you know, something you said makes me feel so easy to relate to. The parents from Asia and of Asian origin, Indian origin too, are very particular about their children's education, and you have been, you know, quite a champion of how parents must bring up their children, and how they must sometimes give up a career or you know, to see them through those years when they're growing up. And so you have 5 wonderful children.
Right.
young men, you said?
Yes, all boys. There's a lot of different ways for families to work. There isn't just one way, but the important thing is that families are very engaged, that they need to pay attention to what's going on in their children's lives. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that. But if you're very involved, engaged with what's going on with your children and what's going on at school, it helps the whole community. It doesn't just help your children. So that's one thing that I've learned over the years, and it's helped me be a better elected official, because I bring those experiences to work with me every day. Everywhere I go, I'm also a mother. I'm also a wife. I'm also a daughter. You know, I have have an elderly mother still. My dad died 2 years ago. He was 93, and he lived with us the last 5.5 years of his life, which was wonderful for my family to be able to have that experience. He was a very wise man. He had been a Buffalo soldier in World War II and was also in the Korean War. So he was in the military for 20 years and then was a school teacher in the Prince George's County Public Schools for 20 years. So we were fortunate to have him live with us and to have that experience with our children. And he was in pretty good health most of the time. It was just, of course, at the very end that he declined. But it was great having him live with us, and to the extent that families can do that for their parents, it's great. Not everybody is able to, but we did set up our household with that in mind at the time that we were buying our house. And so we always knew that there was a good chance that we could have any of our parents come live with us, and that's how it's gone.
These are very, very fine values. And I
Well, we
know,
think so.
I can see that you'll make a very fine Lieutenant Governor of Maryland. How did you, and I should ask, why did you agree to be on the Gansler ticket?
You know, I've known Doug Gansler for a long time. I knew him when he was an assistant U.S. attorney in D.C., and I knew him when he was state's attorney of Montgomery County, because that was during the time my husband was state's attorney for Prince George's County. So I've known Doug Gansler a long time. When I became a delegate, he was becoming Attorney General. So then I had to actually work with him, and I know that Doug is a doer and he's a fighter. He fights for families. And that he has made my life easier and my children safer, because he's done a lot to help with cyberbullying. He's done so much to help on the domestic violence issue. He's been just a very involved person when it comes to the foreclosure issue, which has been huge in Maryland. He is the person who brought together the big banks to bring settlement money back to Maryland, $1.5 billion in settlement money to help with the foreclosure issue that affected so many people.
Yes, that's big. Yes, you know.
And $4.5 billion on an air pollution settlement against an electric company that was polluting our air. So he's cleaned up the air quite significantly with this action. And the money that he brought back has been really helpful to the state. So he's been a good steward of his office, and I'm very proud of him.
He's a strong leader.
He's a strong leader, and everything he does, he sees it through to a successful completion. And I'm glad to be a part of that ticket. We share the same values. We both care very much about families, and he's a hard worker, and his heart's in the right place. So I'm really happy to be on his team.
And what's your role as Lieutenant Governor going to be?
Well, as Lieutenant Governor, Doug and I have had many conversations, as you can imagine, about how we'll work together. And one thing that I'm going to be extremely active in is the education issue, because I've already been so involved in it up to this point. On the Ways and Means Committee, I'm on the Education Subcommittee, and we oversee education policy for the state.
I see.
So I already have experience in the education field for the state, and of course, again, as a mother, as someone whose children go to the public schools. And so I'm well positioned to be able to help him implement some programs that are going to help our kids learn the best that they possibly can and make sure that we have the best, most qualified teachers and the most experienced teachers in every classroom.
Yes, education is quite the key to the future of Maryland and the nation, as a matter of
Absolutely.
fact. Yes. Now, are there any particular reasons why our viewers should support the Gansler ticket?
Well, this race is really about who is best going to lead our state over the next several years. And so Doug Gansler is a doer, he's a fighter. He has, as I mentioned before, brought back the foreclosure money. He's brought polluters to be accountable, and he has done an awful lot for the business community as well. So he has been successful in the things he has taken on. At the same time, look at the healthcare disaster that we're facing in Maryland. I mean, the Affordable Care Act is Barack Obama's signature legislative accomplishment. And Maryland, being a very blue state, should be leading the way to show everyone in the country how well it can work. Instead, it's been an embarrassment. And we're the only state that's completely abandoned its site to have to go and implement a different site. So the Anthony Brown was put in charge of it. It's on his website that he's in charge of the Affordable Care Act implementation in Maryland. He's been bragging about it, and then he dropped the ball. So when the Affordable Care Act was rolled out and the website was accepting people to apply for health care, it went down the first day. The first day it crashed. And from that moment, Anthony Brown has been rejecting responsibility. He's been saying that he didn't know about it first. He didn't know that there were problems. You know, now that we're looking into it, it's clear that these problems were known for years, and he just did not want to be involved in it.
So as Lieutenant Governor, you hope to do better?
Oh, absolutely. We will do better. There's absolutely no question about it. You know, it's going to be, in our hands, a much more transparent process, and one that the public will get to see what's going on the whole time. It's not going to be a shock to everyone with the day something starts. If there's a problem, you will have known that there were problems leading up. We don't think that there's never going to be a problem. We just know that we're going to accept our responsibility and work to find solutions instead of trying to blame someone else when there is a problem.
So we have just a minute or so remaining. Would you like to say something to our viewers?
Well, I do know that Doug Gansler has been really involved with helping the Asian community, the Indian community, actually with all communities. His offices, whether he's been state's attorney or attorney general, has reflected our community. So from the top to the bottom, people from everywhere are integrated fully into his offices. And that's also with women.
I see.
I mean, he's very good with women. He's got, a woman is his chief of staff. A woman is his campaign manager, you know. So from the top all the way through his hierarchy, he's always valued every member of every community, and I'm very proud of that. I have been really involved with helping minority communities. I was the lead sponsor of the bill that allows undocumented immigrants to get their driver's licenses, for example, which is now the law. And it's a great thing. Doug's been great when it comes to voting rights for minority communities to make sure everyone has a chance to vote.
So we'll look forward to the primary on June
Absolutely.
24th. All the best to you and to
so
Mr.
much.
Gansler.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being on my show today.
Thank you.
This is your host, Sonny Siegel, signing off from Who's Who on the Capitol Forum. I hope to see you again next month at the same place and same time.